Bam! See on it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. We are Purpose for Forever in the building again. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. Another edition. Is this our first? No, this is our second of the year. Can't Happy New Year again. So
yeah,
it's the 11th. It's the 11th. I know. Happy New Year once again. It's still January though.
What that mean?
So we appreciate you guys. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. We have an awesome couple coming on tonight. So hang tight, hold on, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Bam! All right, so I want to introduce you to some, and some may know who they are. We're introducing Corron and Hannah Boston.
Yeah.
Hey.
Awesome. So we're so excited for you guys to be on, and to be a part.
What?
I don't know. I feel like you just want to jump in.
Because I thought you was gonna be sharing.
I am. Okay, I'm sharing. Go ahead.
Anyway, everything's so difficult. So, guys, we thank you for coming on. Just to our viewers, so Corron is the son of the Bostons that we had on back in like April. So his mom is like, she's kind of like an auntie to me, even though she's only like this much older than me. But she's more like a bigger sister. Let's put it like that. So I've known his mom almost my whole life. So he is her son, and this is his lovely wife, Hannah. Just to give everybody a little bit of background. And this is a young couple that's still a newlyweds.
Right. That's right.
So we wanted to have them on, wanted to get the younger perspective on marriage and then get that fresh, because they freshly married. So in the beginning is when marriage is like great and interesting all at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
That is
right. Because you're getting to know a whole person.
Right.
That has lived a whole life. And now you're meshing two lives. Yeah. So I always think the most, interesting part of marriage is the beginning. Mm-hmm. So we're going to ask you guys, I know I asked you before when I saw you, but just share with everyone kind of how you guys met.
I'm going to let her share because, her story going to be quicker than mine.
Okay.
There's some people out there like, man, y'all better make it nice and good and quick because we got to get to. But I'm going to let her share it. She's good with it.
So I'm 26 years old. Corron is 28. We are both Gemini. Our birthdays are 2 days apart, June 3rd and June 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So we just really hit it off at the bat. We met at a sport ministry camp called FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I was in college at the time. He had just graduated college. And we were both counselors serving at this camp where high schoolers would come, really fun, play sports, great speakers, get to learn about Jesus. And then they'd go home after the week. So that's where we first met, hit it off, had a great friendship. And so it was a 6-year process from meeting, best friends, dating, and then marriage.
That's true. Wow. I will add a little bit though that my role that specific summer meeting her, the summer I met her, my role was a little bit different in that I had to be like a liaison between staff and counselor. So I was like calling them before they were like, yo, y'all coming to camp and we want to make sure we got all our ducks in a row. So I kind of got her number before I actually knew her. And so that kind of played into my favor a little bit later.
Nice.
So you was calling her to make sure. Like, okay, so you guys, you said it was a 6-year process. So how, but for the majority of the 6 years, you guys had a long distance relationship, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just pick up from there. So like once we met, I mean, we were just friends. Like there was nothing more than that. I knew she was extremely beautiful. I knew that she was amazingly talented as an athlete. And I knew that she loved Jesus and can talk about him like nobody's business. And so I knew that she was an awesome woman. But my meeting her and figuring that out didn't propel me to go chase after her like some dudes was.
Because if he did, I would have said, hold up, wait a minute. Like, because I don't know. I compete game pretty easy.
Yeah.
So.
And so I wasn't running game. And then honestly, it was because I was chasing after another young lady at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But what ended up happening, so about a year after Hannah and I met face to face and did that camp together, about a year later, we had no communication within that year at all whatsoever. But about a year later, like I had wrapped up my time with that young lady, realized that it was not God's will for me. And I was just like, bump it. I'm just gonna go solo dolo. Me and Jesus, we in this thing. And next thing you know, like Hannah posted a picture on Instagram of her fishing. And y'all, if you don't know much about me, which I'm sure you don't, fishing is my favorite hobby. So I remember all these cool things about her, and then I realized she fishes. I'm like,
I grew up a country girl, fishing with my dad, riding 4-wheelers, doing that whole 9 things.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was just a day
Right.
we went fishing.
Right. So I was living in Florida at the time. She was in Georgia. As soon as she posted that picture, like I had to start messing like, dang, you fish too? Like you never told me about this. So I ain't gonna lie. I remember her sliding in my DMs, but she is correct when she says it's the other way around. We actually had to go back a couple years later and figure out that it was actually me that was sliding in the home plate. So yeah, I just messaged her, and then we started building a friendship, and it was still long distance. That texting turned it into calling turned to FaceTime turned into, hey, how about once a month I drive up and come see you? So that's kind of how I kicked off in that first phase.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, and then we fast forwarded. So of course you guys got engaged. So from the time you were engaged to the time you was married was how long?
4 months.
4 things.
And were y'all still long distance after the engagement, or were you both in the same place then?
Right. So I had just moved to Georgia. So once we started dating, at which actually was about a whole another year process after we started building that friendship.
Around 2016.
Yeah. So once we started dating, I moved from Florida to Missouri. So I moved further away. Like, we had never been in the same state, and then I'm gonna go and put a few more states in between there,
and a whole time zone.
Yeah, and a whole time zone. And so once my time in Missouri ended about 2 years later, long story short, I was working with a guy at the camp where I met her at that happened to be her brother. That was contacted by a church in Georgia that was looking for a student pastor, and my time was ending in Missouri, and all I knew is that guy wanted me to go east, and I had no clue. East could have been Africa, Asia, Australia. East could have been anything out there, but east was actually just east from Missouri and Georgia. And so I moved to Georgia, and in that week where I was coming to Georgia, I drove to her parents' house because I already knew I was going to propose. I drove straight to her parents' house and popped the question.
Yeah, it's
nice. So
while we were engaged, we lived an hour apart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's not bad. So explain to everybody what a student pastor is.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are familiar with the term youth pastor, but in a way, a youth pastor kind of encompasses the entire age group. Basically, if you go into a retro church, a youth pastor got everybody all the way up to 36, and then all the seasoned saints from there. Ain't no in between. You just 36, and then you're seasoned saint. That's not here nor there. So a student pastor his role is to get them from middle school all the way through college, and so. We got a pretty dope family ministries team that does little individual roles that encompass what some people know to be the youth pastor. But my specific task is to oversee high school through college.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. So you guys were engaged for 4 months. You got married. And when exactly did you get married?
We got married on March 16th, 3/16/19. So we are coming up on our 2-year anniversary in March.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys got married. Okay, I thought you only been married a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so my correction, because I was about to say you got married right before a pandemic, but you missed that by a year. So you guys have been married a year, and then a pandemic hits. So what was that experience like? You know, because you're newly married, you know, you're still trying to establish your lives and, you know, figure some stuff out. And now there's a pandemic and the world is upside down. What was those first couple of months for you like?
Well, we experienced like so many life changes in a short period of time. We moved, we bought a house, I changed jobs. A lot of different things were happening with our family. So it was a lot, boom, boom, boom. And so I guess for the pandemic, it was almost like a breath of fresh air. Like we can hit the pause button because in youth ministry church, like it is just wide open, nonstop. Right. And so to be able to have that break and spend that time with each other that, you know, we really wouldn't get to late summer was like, wow, this is a gift. But then we realized, okay, this is going to stay. It's going to stay this way for a while. Right. So, you know, at first we were, we like to go hiking, do outdoor stuff. So we were, you know, doing these cool adventurous things. And then once we, you know, got bored a little bit, we were like, okay, now what? Yeah. Like, he worked from home. My job got impacted by COVID. So now we're both at home, like all day. It's like, well, I'm not used to seeing you, you know, this many hours in a day.
I need to clarify one thing. By hiking, we don't mean sticks with backpacks and staying up there in the woods. We are not about that life.
That's what I'm saying.
We like to walk around the mountains and just check out the scenic.
Yeah,
you know?
Nice little like 1 to 2 mile trip.
Yeah, a little casual stroll.
I thought you had to, you know, for the night, had the fire and all that, you know. Nope. But for me, it was you kind of almost feel guilty when you say it was good, you know, like because I don't take it lightly. There are people struggling with COVID-19, and there was a lot of emotional, mental, even psychological distress during that time. But when you run so fast in what you're doing, and she's going in one direction and I'm going in another, and we only get to come together for 3 hours at the end of the day before we go to sleep. Like when you run so fast away from each other, any forced time, and I quotations on forced, emphasis on that, any forced time to just sit there and be with each other, you got to celebrate that and appreciate that, because that's time that I don't think is a coincidence. I think it's specifically tailored so that you would do life with the person that you live with.
And I think it's so important that like our friendship phase was longer than us dating, longer than us being engaged, and those
longer
things.
Than us being married.
Yeah,
right?
longer than us being married. Like, and so all those things is really what helped us just connect. And you're doing life, you know, with your best friend. Yeah. And of course, don't get me wrong, there are those moments where we got on each other's nerves, and we still do that now, you know. But it was just like spending time with that person and that quality time was really great, you know, that the pandemic allowed us to have.
And I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. Like there are a ton of things that I had planned to do when I was married. Girl, I'm gonna give you the world. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I'm gonna wake up. Yada, yada. You know, I had all these big dreams and wonderful aspirations. But nobody tells you that you're gonna have to compete with being tired from your full day with giving your wife all the energies you have. And she's supposed to be first. You know, she's not supposed to get the reserve. She's supposed to get the prime, the cream of the crop.
Right.
But so what I'm saying is, I had to really look in the mirror during that time and say, dang, bro, now you have an opportunity to do the things that you said you was going to be doing, because up until now you just had excuses.
Right. Oh, yeah, that clarification was needed watching that, because this couple likes to stay in the woods.
No, we ain't about that life.
We live in the suburbs.
Listen. She hear me, look, the whole time we walking up the hill, she hear me talking about, look, man, what I'm going to do if a bear come out, I got to push you forward, then I got to beat the bear. They say you don't run from them. I don't know what to do. They say stand there and do this. Come on, man. That bear not going to be he ain't going to just walk around me like, come on, man.
Listen, that's a good question to ask. I need to know these types of things.
Right.
You need to have a plan, brother, to protect me.
That is true.
And they won't even let you shoot it. So there go that plan.
Don't do that.
You know what I'm saying?
So you talk about having certain plans or expectations when you got married, and how, you know, expectations and reality kind of differ. So what would you say some of the challenges that you guys have met in the last 2 years that you kind of didn't expect?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I'll start. Well, we both come from, you know, great 2-family households, which we don't take for granted. And we're super thankful for that, because that's, you know, helped shape who we are. And we do have, you know, great role models to look up to in marriages. But with that being said, like, our marriage is our own, you know. Right. And so for me, it was, you know, the good lessons that they take on, but also the warnings. You don't want to like carry those fears or the fear of bad news or the what ifs. You know, you got to live each day one step at a time, and, you know, your marriage is your own. And so I'm thankful, you know, for that. But at the same time, my expectations are knowing that it's what I make it. You know, it's on me. It's not on, you know, the influences from what social media says, what my cousins say, what my best friends say I should do. Like, it's what I make it, and the wisdom that I glean from the Word of God of how to be, you know, that virtuous wife and all those things that He needs.
Yeah. On my end, the challenge is, I know I'm called a lead in this relationship, but she is super smart. Like, I know who I married, and I desire that, and I'm not intimidated by that. I champion that. But, you know, there are times where I have to try to find this healthy medium where I'm leading and where I'm learning. And by what I mean by learning is the best leaders are ones that people want to follow.
Right. Bad
leaders are the ones that people are forced to follow. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but y'all got plenty running through your head right now. But in my love for my wife, I want the absolute best for her. I want the most for her. Like, it is a whole lot out there for her to accomplish and to achieve. But if I'm trying to push her to do what I think she should do, right, versus allowing her to teach me more about who she is, because she's evolving every day. Every human being on this earth is evolving every day. If I get to a point where I think I know my wife enough that I can just determine every little thing, right, I'm missing the mark because I'm not continuing to learn. But so I need to be able to learn her as she presents to me what her heart's desires are, because they could change, instead of me thinking, well, I just got to lead, so I got to tell her this is what's best for her and then spell out a plan for her.
So knowing where your strength lies is important. Use her intelligence to benefit the family. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. And for me, it's I guess not trying to feel like I have to compete, you know, like it seems like there would be a struggle of, well, I have to prove that I'm just as smart as you are, or I can, you know, say what this family goes and does too. But it's really that, like, we work together and listen to each other. And then that's how we go forward with that, you know, and what's best.
You said a big word right there, that listen word. That's another thing that's a challenge. I have learned that the word listen means two different things in this household. To me, my understanding of the word listening, and that doesn't mean either of our understanding is wrong, but my understanding of the word listen is that I hear you, I actively respond to what you're saying, I internalize what you're saying, and then I make a sound judgment with what information you presented to me. That's what I consider listening. My wife, on the other hand, has a much simpler definition for listening, and that is, you heard what I said. Did you do what I said? So that's a challenge because I like to be introspective and go ahead and make a sound decision.
And with his introspection is a lengthy period of time, and I'm like, okay, process, da 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 da. All right, cool, I got it. Whereas he's like, well, wait a minute. Now let's I guess have this discussion or conversation again, or let's have it 3 different ways. And I'm like, I know I said this clearly, but anyway, that's what I've learned in patience is that I think differently or process differently, and he does too. And I can't rush him, or be impatient and try to jump to conclusions when, he thinks and goes about things differently.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I will say that's excellent. That's something you guys have figured out in 2 years. Difference in just that listening part, like that's a major hurdle because I'm like you, I feel the same way. Like I'm like, but I said you not listening to what I say. He's like, I did listen to what you said. You didn't listen because you didn't do it. Like I kind of think right. But I feel like you heard what I said, but you didn't really listen. Yeah. But I will say that's a great thing that you guys have recognized the differences. Because once you recognize something, it's easier to manage it. Right. And make it work in your favor. So I'll say that's great. To be such a newlywed couple. Where you're still learning each other. So Hannah, what would you say is one of Corron's biggest strengths?
Corron is a protector. When I tell you, he is always thinking about safety all the time. And I'm adventurous, so I kind of unknowingly may veer off or go look at something. Where'd you go? And it panics him so much. And so I realized okay, I need to stay by his side, when we're out in public, even if I thought the situation was completely safe. But still, I don't want to put him in that situation where, he's ready to, I don't know,
you would know where the exit door kind of do, right? I know where the exit. If they come in this way, I'm going out there.
So he always has a plan.
I got you.
So safety and security is his number one thing that he's great at. I know as women, that's what we like and look for in that partner as well. Are you going to be able to take care of me? Provide, keep us safe, do all those things, and he takes that so serious, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. That one thing that she probably doesn't even know is that she led me to be that way. When I was when we were just in our friendship phase and I was just learning her, we would ask each other intentional questions because we knew the direction we were going with our friendship. And safety and security was one of her top most of what she wanted and needed in a relationship that led to marriage. And so I recognize, look, I could be out here wilding, you know what I'm saying? I can eat stuff off the ground and be all right. I can do a backflip off the car and go play basketball. Yeah, all that weird stuff, right? But and when it came down to it, I had a whole note in my phone of just things that I learned about her that I would literally read to remind myself, okay, you can't be like who you want to just be if you're trying to be the person that she needs to be. So I was trying to make sure that I was able to be the person that she needs to be as well. So that heightened sense come from me just wanting to, take care of her.
All right. And Corron, what do you think is one of Hannah's biggest strengths?
Hannah's versatile. She is, once you think you have her figured out, you just realize, dang, maybe I don't got her figured out. She can do anything, y'all. The woman is amazing. She was a valedictorian in high school. She was 2-time All-American track sprinter. She was lifting with the big boys. Like I used to get videos on my phone. Like, dang, I gotta put some more weight on the bar. My girl, like out here out lifting me and stuff. But you know, those are things that are on the surface. But like the things that are internal, the things that are of the deep is when she breaks down something that she has been thinking about. I wish we just had somebody who in her house to just scribe everything and post it, because she's got books inside of her. And so what I mean by versatility is she can speak to whoever she needs to. She can do whatever she needs to. It's got to be the grace of God, because she honestly don't need me. I'm just an accessory. I was just kidding. But yeah, she is versatile and she's so caring.
Awesome.
Oh, this is so sweet. See, look, that's that newlywed talk. Those are newlywed answers.
Newlyweds.
Nah, I mean, it's stuff that's great for a foundation that you're building on. You know, as you grow together and you grow older, you know, interests always shift, they always change. Things internal, external kind of shift your perspective. But it's always great. You guys are starting off on a great leg. You know, we're joking, but you guys are starting off really on an understanding, because you know, a lot of times, you know, we jump into marriage and we're kind of moving, and then we trip over each other. Like, oh wait, what you mean? You know what you know? And we go through all of this to try to figure each other out. Whereas you guys have been more proactive in the figuring out part. You know, I guess the only thing, you know, you always just learn. Like you said, you're always learning each other, because, you know, right now, Corron loves one thing, and then after a while, he'll love something different. Like, you know what? I started watching this show. Like, I thought you don't even like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I got stuck on it. You know, because that was, you know, I went through the, you know, different phases and watching different things, you know, and you'll learn that your partner's just changing, you know. And sometimes in relationships, if there's issue, you feel like they're growing apart. No, I'm just changing. I'm not growing apart. I just found a different interest that, you know, while the hustle and bustle of the years, you know, I started watching more documentaries than you realize. You're like, when you started getting these documentaries?
Want to watch that?
No, I love documentaries. I watch a good documentary any day. Like,
yeah, but I don't.
Right.
I don't.
Like, what is facts? Why don't I want to listen to facts? What you mean? Why would you not want to know the facts?
It's just, you know, documentaries are just so like stoic and slow. It's the way that they present the facts. I like to learn stuff, but I just need you not to have that monotone voice while you are laying out the facts.
Now listen. She don't hate all of them, because I've drawn her into something. She's like, oh, this is good. She said, I'm like, oh, this is good. Yeah. So I sucked into some of them. Some of them she sucked into.
Okay, so you guys, so you've lived in Georgia all your life, right, Hannah?
Yes.
You're a Georgia native, and Corron, Georgia is basically new to you. So, was it hard to have? Well, I guess not really, because you have been disconnected. But to be like in a totally different place, and now it's like you're establishing a whole different family. You know, I know you have 2 sisters. You know, you have your mom, your dad. So, like, you know, what has that been like? You know, to be in a totally different place, attached to a whole separate something, you know, something that's separate than what you're used to.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up in the Raleigh-Durham area, and whenever I tell people where I'm from, I say Raleigh-Durham, even though that's 2 cities, because we basically moved around that entire area. You know, I went to Holly Springs High School in Holly Springs, North Carolina, and once I left Holly Springs, I went off to the foothills of North Carolina and went to Lenore Ryan University. When I left LR, I didn't return home. And so my mom would say when I left high school, I didn't return home. And it's not that I didn't like home. I love home. I love my family. They're great people. It's just that upon my finishing my senior year in college, I already knew that the Lord wanted me to go in step with him every direction that I went. And Florida happened to be the first move. I went to Florida for 2 years, left Florida and went to Missouri for 2 years.
Wow.
Now I left Missouri and been in Georgia for 2 years,
Nice.
going on 3. And so to answer the question, I had to frame all of that is because I've been in this newness of life circle, if you will. So that's a picture in my head. I've been in that newness of life circle since I left high school, and entering into the world where it's now me and my wife.
Right.
It's amazing because now I finally feel like I settled somewhere. I'm settling down somewhere. I'm not here and here and here and here, but I'm settling down. Now maybe the Lord might call us somewhere in 5 years or whatever, and we'll say yes. But right now I don't have where is next on the horizon. I have me and my family that I know is going to grow one day, and no, that's not a plug. We're not pregnant. Look, while you looking at your paper for your kids' question, yeah, we'll have kids someday, not right now. But yeah, like it's just finally settling down, and my family's not far, so we get to hang out with them. But I love the season I'm in.
Oh, I was just all right. All right. So let's see. We moved around. We've settled here. So how are you adapting to just being settled in one space? As opposed to moving around.
Yeah. I say it's fairly easy. I mean, just in the moving around, you learn to adapt to your environment. Mm-hmm. And y'all, if you don't know what I mean, go visit Branson, Missouri, and you will have to learn how to adapt to your environment pretty quick. It is like being dropped off in a country Las Vegas in the middle of the Midwest, borderline Arkansas, with the Klan behind your back. That's what it's like. Wow. And so you go from that to Georgia, one of the most diverse areas in Georgia. Like you settle in on just knowing how to adapt to your environment. So it's been fairly easy. I guess it's just a part of me now.
And while we were dating, I told him I'm not going to Branson. Like, we had no idea that God was gonna bring him to Georgia. I was open to moving wherever, but I was not going to Branson.
You were there.
So we established, Corron, you're a student pastor, and so that means you're in ministry or whatever. Hannah, was it like a goal or something that you desired to be married to a pastor, minister?
So my dad's a pastor, so I grew up, as a PK. But with that being said, that was not on my list of, I have to marry a pastor. I just wanted to marry a man that loved the Lord and that was a man of God. Yeah. And I knew that, we're all called to ministry in some form or another, with your job, your family, whatever that you do. And so our paths just connected while doing a form of sport ministry. And it evolved with him, being more settled at a church. So I think it was great because it allowed us to both jump right in, be plugged into a brand new area, got to meet so many great people and then friends and networking. So it really just all happened organically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so have you guys ever had the discussion, if things grow and proceed, what ministry might look like for you in, 7 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, we have had that discussion, but it's always pretty short. My answer just doesn't really change no matter how many times she asks it, and that's just, if he say go do it, we're gonna go do it, and we probably it might hurt to transition out of this area because it's awesome. We got great friends that are all across the color spectrum. So we getting to learn with the Latinos, hang out with some white folks, and do life with some more of our fellow brothers and sisters in the African American complex. So like it's really comfortable here. But the thing about Corron is I never wanted to be a pastor. Like not just I never wanted to be, but I knew I never wanted to be like at all. And so it really had to be God to turn my heart to accept the call of being a pastor. And so if that same God would turn my heart to say, here's what ministry looks like now, and I'm saying now as in 7 years later,
right?
He know how to turn my heart, and so he would have to do that. You know what I mean? But yeah, what about you?
And I think because of that same thing, that would, if we had to transition to something, that's what would help me because my roots are so deep. Like I lived in the same house my whole life. So going off to college was a really big deal because we had never moved. Like I've never lived in another city or town. Right. And so
they're still there.
Yeah, my parents still live there and they gonna be there until the Lord calls them home. But Brazelton is like only the third other place, I've ever lived. So as much as I love Georgia and I love home, I'm only 2 hours away from my whole family. So, but at the same time, like I would love to experience, whatever God has for us and whatever that might look like. Right. So I don't want to, be selfish and say, oh, well, I'm just going, dig my heels in the ground and I'm not leaving here. I'm not going anywhere else. Because I know that, wow, Corron has had so many changes, so many sacrifices in his life, and we're one now. So, that's one sacrifice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. So what would be the one lesson so far that you, in your journey of being married, you kind of just starting, what would be like one lesson that you've learned so far in your walk, being together from friendship to dating to marriage? What would be the one lesson that you've learned in that journey, or that you would tell somebody else, like, what's the one thing I need to look out for?
Yeah. You want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm thinking. So I learned this before we got married.
Okay.
But I think it's purposeful that I learned it before because it's what I rely on right now. And that is the phrase, you need to pursue your wife the way that she needs to be pursued. And I say that because oftentimes in circles like these where married couples will discuss their story and what works for them, what doesn't work for them, there are young or old single folks out there that are gleaming from that understanding, and they think that they have to make their story look like this so it'll be valid.
Yeah.
Right.
But if I try to apply the things that I know or learn from brothers who was helping me grow in that time frame before I was with her, right. If I tried to apply all those things, it would not have worked for Hannah. Right. And y'all heard her say, like, if I would have approached her at that camp, a Jesus loving dude who was, am I cute?
Yeah, you're cute.
Cute, with bald head and a beard, and he come up and he approach you and he's just infatuated by your story and he's talking about how great you are. If I would have came up to her and tell all of that, she would have said, see, I ain't got time. And I would have been like, oh dang, I'm never gonna try her again. And right. So there's people who would encourage you, bro, you got to shoot your shot. You might never see her again. But here's the deal. I had my closest friends, y'all, and I'm not talking junk about them. They know, they've heard me say this before. My closest friends were almost telling me, Corron, you've been waiting too long for Hannah. She not being serious. You need to go ahead and move on. Wow. They were communicating messages like that to me. And these are guys that were married. Right. And so what I heard the whisper from the Holy Spirit was, pursue her the way that she needs to be pursued. Right. And here's why. If the scriptures tells us that a husband is to love his wife like Christ loves the church, Jesus don't pursue you the same way he pursued me. He knows how to get to you, and the way he gets to you may not be the way that he gets to me.
Right.
And so that pursuership has to be tailored to the individual.
Right.
So when I'm oh my goodness, when I am looking down at my phone and my wife is telling me a story and I'm listening and I'm nodding my head and I'm even looking up saying, dang, he said that. That's crazy. And I go back to typing, my body language to her is communicating that he ain't listening.
Right.
But there's people who can sit in the same room with each other, look down and have a whole conversation and feel heard, feel connected, and yada, yada.
Right.
So if I were to continue to do that and say, yeah, everybody else can talk like this, it's
Right.
I'm telling my wife that I don't want to pursue her with that action.
Wow.
Right. And my heart could be far from that.
Right.
But again, if I tailor the way that I pursue her according to her needs, then that's when she's really being communicated that she's loved and that she's valued and that she's cherished and that I'm not just selling her wolf tickets just so that I can, win on the end.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Y'all can tell he a preacher, right?
Right.
Listen,
You kept it short. You kept it short, though.
Thank you, brother. I've been working on that. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
What about you, Hannah? What's that one thing that you learned?
Well, I've heard couples say this, but I actually get to live it now. That Corron is not a mind reader. He can't read my mind, and I'm more introverted, and I think things through, but I don't always follow through from start to finish in communicating that with him. Or something may bother me, and I really, might not speak up on it because I'm like, it's all right, just brush it off, it's whatever. But then I don't really let it go.
right.
So, and it turns into something bigger. So that's what I'm learning is that, take the time and pause and say, hey, this thing right here that's bothering me, or maybe this could have been said differently, or I don't know, maybe it might not even have to do with anything, he did to me. It's just, I have to be more vocal about that instead of having all those conversations to myself. And he's always very receptive of that because he strives, to want to be a good husband and want to get it right and do the right thing. And so, and with that also comes encouragement because he's really hard on himself, really, really hard on himself. And I'm like, dude, it's okay. It's not going to be perfect. People with great marriages, been married 20, 30 years, they form those one day at a time and took downs with it. So that's what I've learned.
See, I'm trying to come in the lead like LeBron. I want to be great off the rip, but I got to put the hours in the gym to it like that. I ain't got it like that. But that mind reader thing is huge because even I can fall into that too, thinking that, okay, if I do this, Hannah's going to know that I'm preparing for this. That might not be the case. For example, I'm going to break it down to even the smallest thing. If I take my shirt off and hang it over the laundry basket instead of throwing it in the laundry basket, Hannah's going to know that I might not want this shirt to go in the basket.
We're back to that.
But Hannah might actually come around and say, why you just throw it in the basket? I'm not mocking you, by the way. That's my anybody voice. Why you just throw it in the basket? Put 2 more inches in the basket. I'm like, no, because I was trying to not to do that because I didn't want that to go.
If it's touching the basket, it's getting more.
It's dirty, right? The shirt is dirty because it's on the dirty clothes basket.
There we go.
Let's see the better.
Maybe that's the maybe zone. That's the maybe.
And it's hard to deal with that, offense, big or small, but it's so important because, it can grow into other things that, that's really going to be painful and hurtful dealing with it later on. And so it's just, while we were dating, we had these things called open book moments. Mm-hmm. So it's all right, we take the boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife role off, and we're just 2 friends, talking to each other. Right. And you can say things, and I'm not going to get offended. I'm going to let you speak your truth. I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to cut you off. And we're going to, talk this out and deal with it instead of hoping that he'll fix it without even knowing, what I'm dealing with.
Yeah. And I would recommend anybody who was on here and are is in the pursuership stage, and especially us now as marrieds, like, y'all practice open book moments so that you can prepare for open book life. And every marriage will tell you communication is key. Well, if you don't practice being able to communicate without the fear of the person chomping you off or writing you off, then your communication will be hindered. And if your communication is hindered, you're hindering your ability to relate with one another, love one another well.
Right. Good. All right. I think I'm good. You good?
I feel yes.
All right. So
I think so.
we appreciate you guys hanging with us this evening. In spite of the game, I appreciate you.
Wait, I do have another question.
Another question.
No, don't ask that. Don't say
Okay.
that.
No.
Don't put that in the chat.
Please don't.
Okay, so I know I mentioned before, Corron has 2 sisters and he has a mom, and yes, his family's great, so I'm not trying to be shady. So everybody take a breath. Hannah, what was it like? Because I know that they're protective because he's the only boy.
Right.
And so what was it like, first connecting with his family?
I was really nervous and kind of stressing about things like, oh, what if this not? It was nothing. Like everything I thought about, it was really nothing. Him, on the other hand, had a much harder time with my family being protected. I'm the youngest, first girl to get married as well. Okay. So I feel sorry for him because I wish my family could, they're better now. But during that engagement dating process, I wish they were, as open and loving as receptive to me as the Boston family was to him. So, but they've made amends, so it's good.
It might be a northern versus a southern kind of thing, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just different.
Yeah.
On my end, and I'm gonna answer a question that wasn't even asked to me. On my end, it was very interesting because I'm a city boy in a sense. I kind of am a hybrid. I was born in North Carolina, but we lived in the metro areas. And so when I went to go visit her family, I went to the backwoods.
Yes, you did.
They was out there in West Georgia, and everybody's got an accent, and they got farmland.
60 acres.
I'm out there helping them plant collards, and I'm getting on the ground, and I ain't afraid of none of that stuff. But it was almost as if I had to prove that I can be city boy and get my hands dirty.
Right.
My parents were very old school and traditional. So he passed all the tests, and that was
nice.
Okay.
I knew what the plan was for us, so I realized it didn't matter what was gonna come with the fam. We had work that we needed to do, and so it was gonna get done. I told y'all how I jumped in the car and went to say to her parents that I wanted to marry her.
Right.
But that was not the end of the story. We had to do a little bit more conversations and counseling and stuff too, just to figure out, all right, are you ready to marry her? Are y'all ready? Yeah, we're gonna do this thing. So now we're doing it, and they love it, and we love it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Great.
That's awesome.
Well, I will say, I think you guys.
Yes.
I think you guys are great examples. Being so young, getting married, and you seem like you're on a great track, and y'all have had a lot of important conversations.
Right.
Stuff that you recognized ahead of the game, and that's always great. To be ahead of things, or at least on track. Your own speed.
Right.
Definitely, you guys seem like you definitely have found your own lane and what works in the house.
Right.
And that's wonderful in and of itself. So I appreciate you guys, lending your time, being so open and willing to talk. It's always great. I remember when Corron was a very energetic little boy. So, to see him as like a grown married man is like a little bit mind blowing. Just to think about, when you're watching a kid run through the house and do all sorts of crazy stuff, and now you're a grown man with your own house.
Right.
Even watching you fuss at your nephews,
That's crazy.
So I will say, he comes from a big, great, diverse family.
Yeah.
It's a lot of moving parts. So I know you gotta have something in there to be able to just, meld into that family. Right. I know you gotta have it. You gotta have it in there because it takes a little bit. So thank you guys so much for coming on, letting us interrupt your game watching. Sports.
We enjoyed it. Thank y'all so much. Yeah.
All right, guys. You guys have a great night. I don't want to hold them so they can get to the score.
All right. So we'll see you guys. We'll talk.
All right. Thank y'all. It's been fun.
All right. Good night.
Good night. All right. So we appreciate you guys rocking, watching, sharing, and caring, all of that good stuff. As always, love intentionally.
Oh, love intentionally.
And love on purpose.
I didn't realize you could just call
me and you together. Our purpose